Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya yato anvayaditaratascha artheshu abhigyaswarat Tene brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayah Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam shukamukad amritadrava sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. So we now enter the third chapter of the eighth Skandha of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in the middle of the beautiful story of Gajendra Moksham. So we saw in the last chapter how this king of elephants called Gajendra was lording over the whole forest and all the other elephants worshipping him, all the other animals afraid of him. He was enjoying to the maximum with all the other elephants and sporting in the waters, and suddenly when he was having maximum sensual pleasure with his family and friends and kith and kin, an alligator caught hold of him, a very powerful alligator in the water, and he was completely unable to extricate himself despite all his might and power. He struggled and struggled. Nobody else, none of the other elephants, nobody could help him. They all watched him helplessly, and he was struggling, and yet he was losing this battle. And slowly and steadily, he was coming face to face with death. And he started shrieking in pain, crying, and thereby his ego was completely shattered in front of all those who worshipped him, and he was having tremendous physical pain, and he was in the last throes. And at this moment, it is said that he awoke in his heart, rather, the seed of devotion that was planted in the past life, and therefore he, in that moment of complete despair and desperation, turned towards the Supreme Lord. So now he utters this prayer. As we saw already, this whole story has beautiful symbolism. Gajendra represents this power that humans feel they have when everything is going well, when they are able to control all their affairs, and when their family is with them and their work is with them, and everything seems to go well for some time. And then suddenly, like this alligator, something goes terribly wrong through a death or through some other calamity, disease, or various things. And because of that, they are completely removed from that position of enjoying, and instantly they are in this terrible suffering, and nobody can even help them. Even the close friends and family helplessly watch one who is caught in, let's say, a terminal disease or anything like that that happens suddenly, and then they are completely left with no support. And at that moment, if only there is any seed of devotion in them that springs up, and if there is nothing that they have done, then they are only caught in body identification and therefore with morbid fear. Also, one other thing to notice here is that the elephant playing in the water and splashing around and plucking things around and enjoying the place for his own sense gratification again represents the nature of humanity exploiting nature, exploiting the ecosystem for one's own pleasure, and thinking that everything is there for one's sensual enjoyment. And then, when suddenly something comes and hits so hard through a natural calamity or a disease or a virus or whatever it might be, then all of that is blown in one moment, and then the sense of total impermanence comes up. It stares in the face. So this is all symbolized by the story. So this Gajendra also instructs how any devotion, any pious activity, sadhana that is done at any time never goes waste. So he, because of the devotion he performed in the past life, it wakes up in his heart, and he now cries out a beautiful prayer. So we enter the prayer. Shuka Brahma Rishi says, having resolved by force of reason and steadying the mind in his heart the king of elephants proceeded to repeat this excellent prayer mentally. He says, Evam vyavasito buddhya samadhaya manohridi jajapa param japyam prag janmani anushikshitam. So whatever he learned in the previous life, which is to say a very old memory, it woke up and he placed his mind in the heart very nicely. He says, Vyavasito buddhya, by studying with reason, samadhaya manohridi, by placing the mind in the heart. So this is the essence of true prayer, because the mind is always agitated and always disturbed. When the mind is surrendered to the heart, which is the seat of the Supreme Spirit, only then one can taste the peace of being. So by this force of reason, this elephant, this king of elephants, is surrendering into his own being, into the source of his being, which is the heart, and then chants this prayer. Now, this prayer is one of the most beautiful prayers of Bhagavatam. We say this every time because every prayer in Bhagavatam excels the previous one, as it were, each prayer being so sublime. So this prayer is a very famous prayer. Every verse is sublime. So we will go into this prayer and see the depth and the profoundness of each prayer. So he first begins by saying, referring to the Lord as the source, the original source. So he says, Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yata Yetat Chitatmakam Purushaya Adi Bijaya Pareshaya Abhidhimahi. He says Adi Bijaya. Bija means also root, like Mula. Adi Moolam, Adi Bijam are the same. Adi Bijaya means the original root, the original source. Purushaya, the Supreme Spirit, who is the original source and who controls the whole universe. I offer my obeisances unto him. Om Namo Bhagavate Etat Chidhatmakam. So he is the one spirit, one Atma that pervades the whole universe, and I offer my obeisance by contemplating on him. Dhimahi. Dhimahi is again invoking the Gayatri mantra. So in this one prayer, he invokes the Supreme Lord as the original source, as pure consciousness, as the one Atma, one Supreme Spirit. And then he says, Yasmin nidam etat cha idam yena idam yaidam swayam yo asmat paramascha parastam prapadye swayambhuvam. The prayer is again so poetic as well and so profound. He says, Swayambhuvam, the one who is there without any cause, who is the original cause, and in whom, by whom, as whom this universe exists. Yasmin idam, in whom this universe exists. Yata idam, from whom this universe has come. Yena idam, by whose instrumentality or by whose cause, who's the cause of this universe. And ya idam, who is the universe itself. Ya idam swayam. So the mystery of this universe is that it is coming from him, it is sustained in him, it dissolves in him, and it is him all through. Because the material energy, which is called Prakriti, is simply a modification of the pure spirit and therefore non-different from the pure spirit, Supreme Spirit. And it is this modification, the material energy, that seems to create, sustain, and dissolve this universe, abiding as the universe itself. And therefore, Gajendra says, this Supreme Lord, the original cause, the one who is self-existent, that is Swayambhuvam, in whom the universe rests, from whom it has emanated, and in whom it dissolves, who is the cause, who is the very universe, I surrender unto him. Then he says, I plead to this Supreme Lord, the self-revealed Lord, to protect me, who is the revealer of all the senses. So normally the senses is what reveals everything. The eyes reveal sights, the ears reveal sounds, and so on. And yet the very revealer of the revealing senses is consciousness, because it is by consciousness that one is aware of the seeing, one is aware of the hearing, and so on. So he beautifully says, one who reveals the revealing senses, who transcends all the senses, who is the witness of the whole universe which is projected by him. And this universe is both manifest and unmanifest when it's created and dissolved. And either way, he remains unaffected. So we see in our own individual sense, the universe is manifested when we wake up, and it unmanifests when we enter deep, dreamless sleep. And at the cosmic sense, the same phenomena happens. The universe is created at the Big Bang, and then the universe is dissolved at the end of the cycle. And regardless of whether the universe is manifest or unmanifest, he abides unaffected as the pure consciousness. And therefore, he says, when this dissolution happens, when the pralaya, that is the universal dissolution happens, when all the 24 elements are dissolved, so the 24 refer to what Sankhya taught us through Kapila in the third skandha as well. These are the five gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. The five subtle elements, which correspond to sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. The five senses of perception, the five senses of action, and then mind, intellect, ego, and memory. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. These 24, they all dissolve into their source, which is called Mula Prakriti, the original source energy. And that original source energy is then the fathomless, impenetrable darkness. So at the time of dissolution, when everything is dissolved, all the 24 elements are dissolved into their source, what remains is the incomprehensible, impenetrable, fathomless darkness, the unmanifest. And then out of that manifests again the light of the universe. So this is very beautifully echoing what science has now come upon, which is the cycle of singularity followed by Big Bang. So every time there is the singularity, which is the fathomless darkness, the infinite dense matter condensed with no time and space, and then from that, through Big Bang, evolves the whole universe, which is infinite. And then it is said at the end of the cycle, it again dissolves into this infinite mass of timeless, spaceless singularity. So that's exactly what is alluded to here beautifully. Gajendra says, you are the impenetrable, fathomless darkness upon dissolution, and you are the light that pervades upon creation. And yet nobody can understand this, just as even an actor who performs different roles on the stage, if he is a very good actor, he changes his form completely, then nobody can really understand what he is doing. So if that's the case, even with an actor, you being the cosmic actor who brings forth the extreme of fathomless darkness and infinite universe and light, is inscrutable and incomprehensible even for the great seers, he says. And therefore he says, you alone are my refuge, who is contemplated upon by all the great beings who are free of attachment, who are compassionate, who are pious, who take to seek sacred vows. So all the great munis, the great beings who free themselves from all attachment, who are free of any kind of envy or comparison, who are compassionate to all beings, who are pious and pure, who take to sacred vows, all of them are eager to only realize you, because he says you are of infinite potency and you are of inscrutable nature, because you have no name, no form, yet you take all names, all forms. Your activities are wonderful, and yet you remain actionless, and you assume all the various aspects of this universe through your own Maya, and you sustain, create, and dissolve. So this verse is again very beautiful. He says, Na vidyate yasya cha janma karmava na nama rupe gunadosha evava. So there is no janma, no karma, and no nama rupa for you. That is, there is no birth, no activity, no name, and no form, and yet you engage in all names, all forms. You manifest as all names and all forms, and you also engage in birth and activities through your avatars, which are very transcendent. So he says, Tasmai Namah Pareshaya Brahmane Ananta Shaktaye Arupaya Ururupaya Nama Ashcharya Karmane. He says, Arupaya means formless. You are beyond all form, and yet Ururupaya, you take all forms. Ashcharya Karmane means one who does wonderful actions. So you are actionless, and yet you, through your own mysterious Maya, descend and take birth and engage in actions which are transcendent and by which you perform wonderful actions. So, this is why Krishna says in the Gita also, Janma karma cha me divyam yomam veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna, he says, one who knows and understands the transcendent nature of my birth and activities, he is freed of all fear and attains me. Because as Gajendra says here, you are originally without any birth, any action, any quality, any name, any form, and yet you take all names, all forms, all activities, and you do wonderful actions, Ashcharya Karmane, because he says you are self-effulgent, witness of the whole universe, the soul of the whole universe, and yet you are beyond mind and speech. Nama Atma Pradipaya Sakshine Paramatmane. He says you are self-effulgent, you are the witness, and you are the soul, the supreme spirit of the whole universe. And therefore, he says, the pure ones, the ones who are free of any attachment, Naishkarmyaha. So Naishkarmyaha means one who are engaged in activities without any desire. They realize you because you are the very embodiment of freedom itself. He says, Namah Kaivalya Nathaya Nirvana Sukha Samvide. Kaivalya Nathaya means the Lord of liberation. Kaivalya means liberation. So the Lord of liberation, Nirvana Sukha Samvide. That is, you are the very embodiment of liberation itself, of freedom, Nirvana. So you are the Lord of liberation. You are the one who gives liberation through your grace. And you are the very embodiment of liberation. And therefore, he says, you also take all the three gunas, Namashantaya, Ghoraya, Mudhaya, Gunadharmine. He says, the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, correspondingly relate to peace, great activity, and ignorance. So, fierce activity, in fact. So, Namashantaya, Ghoraya, Mudhaya. Shantaya means peaceful, Ghoraya is fierce activity, and Mudhaya is ignorance. All three correspond to the three gunas, and you take all these forms. Whenever we see anything in this world, they are of these three forms. Either there is complete peace, or fierce activity, or total ignorance. And he says, you take all these forms, and yet you are beyond all activities and all attributes. Nirvisheshaya samyaya namo jnana ghanaya cha. And yet you are beyond all attributes. Nirvisheshaya samyaya, you are ever the same. Namo jnana ghanaya cha. So what is your nature? Your nature is, you are wisdom itself. You are jnana ghanaya cha, is to say you are the very dense essence of wisdom that's crystallized. The pure crystallized wisdom, jnana ghanaya, is what you are. And therefore, he says, you are in the hearts of everyone as the knower of all the activities. You control everyone as the inner controller. You are the witness of all. You are the source of all. And you are the pure spirit that is the substrate of all. Again, every single prayer is so profound and beautiful. It says, Kshetrajnaya namastubhyam sarvadhyakshaya sakshine purushaya atmamulaya mula prakritaye namaha. Every word is so profound in its meaning. Kshetrajnaya means that Kshetra is the field. Again, everything refers in many ways to many verses in Gita. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita too, Kshetrajna mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. That is, in every field, that is in every body, the knower of the field of activity is me. Know me as such, he says in Gita. Here the same expression is used. Kshetrajna means the one who knows the field of activity. Sarvadhyakshaya, one who controls all the activities and who witnesses all the activities, who is the source of all activities. So it's a beautiful way of saying Everything there is you. The source of activities is you, the witness of activities is you, the knower of activities is you, and the controller of activities is you. And therefore, he says, you are both indicated by presence and absence of the manifest universe. So when we are perceiving the universe through various activities and various sense perceptions, that is all happening because of your material energy, and you are the witness as the pure spirit of the activities. When nothing is perceived and there is only complete void, as in deep sleep, then the very presence of the void is perceived by the same pure witness, which is the Supreme Spirit. Therefore, you are present in both presence and absence, that is, in fullness and voidness of the manifest universe. You are always present as the full essence of both. And therefore, he says, you are the cause of everything, and yet you have no cause, and you are the most, your causation is so wonderful. So he says nicely, Namo Namaste Akhila Karanaya Nishkaranaya Adbhuta Karanaya. Akhila Karanaya means cause of the whole universe, cause of everything. Nishkaranaya, yet you have no cause. Adbhuta Karanaya, and your causation is so wonderful. And therefore, he says, those who are the knowers of Vedas, those who are the knowers of all scriptures, they only adore. And he says therefore that you are the one who is seen by those who are engaged in activity that are free of any desire. So that is the only way to perceive you. You are the consciousness that is present in every activity of this nature, this whole world. And those enlightened beings who act with no desire, and therefore who are free of any injunctions, even who they are beyond the do's and don'ts, because they have completely surrendered to you. As again Krishna says in the Gita, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Abandoning all regulations, all do's and don'ts, simply surrender unto me. And so here also Gajendra says, those who surrender to you in this way, abandoning all rules and regulations, all shastras even, and just surrender with no desire, they attain you, and such Supreme Lord that you are, I offer my obeisances. He says, Naishkarmya bhavena vivarjita agama swayam prakashaya namaskaromi. Swayam prakashaya again means self-effulgent. The self-effulgent Lord who is realized by those who have completely surrendered, I bow to you. Then he says, O Lord, you are not only free always yourself, but you also free the by removing the cords of ignorance for beasts like me who are fallen, who are attached, and you out of your grace and compassion remove the cord of ignorance so that we can be freed. And you do this effortlessly, being the inner controller of all. He says beautifully again, Pasha Vimokshanaya Muktaya Bhuri Karunaya Bhagavate Brihate Namaste. Pasha Vimokshanaya means one who removes the cord of attachment. Bhuri Karunaya, with infinite compassion, and ever free yourself. Muktaya, the infinite Lord. Brihate Bhagavate Namaste. And so then he continues by saying, I hail the all powerful Lord who is entirely free at all times, and yet he is unattainable by those who are attached to anything at all. So if those people who are attached to their body, their friends, their family, their house, their wealth, so Gajendra reflects on himself because he was so attached to everything, and that's why he did not even turn to God the Lord. But now he recognizes that because of that he was blinded in his own inner eye from turning towards God till now, but now he is turning, and therefore he says, those who were like me, those who are attached to their body, their family, their house, their wealth, they are, for them, you are completely unattainable. But those who are the pure beings, the free souls, for them you are ever shining in their heart. And so he continues, therefore, that you are the goal of anyone desiring any boon. So if people normally, there are fourfold goals people are given normally: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That is to first begin with the righteous way of living, then some wealth, some sense comforts, but ultimately realizing the truth as one's own self, which is the pure supreme spirit. So whatever one desires virtuous life, one desires some wealth, one desires some comforts, or ultimately one wakes up to seek the ultimate truth, to seek God realization. Anyone has to turn only to you. You are the giver of all the boons. And your nature, he says very beautifully, your nature is so wonderful. Your whole charitam is a beautiful word in Sanskrit, which means your history or your character or your personality or your nature. It has many facets, is so wonderful. Ati adbhutam tat charitam sumangalam. It is the most auspicious. Your whole nature is so auspicious and so wonderful. And the nature of it is tam aksharam brahmaparam, which is to say, he says, you are imperishable, atindriyam, beyond all the senses, sukshmam, subtle, ati duram, that is, you seem to be so far away and yet you are so near. You are nearer than the breath and yet you seem so far away for those who are outwardly focused. Anantam, you are infinite. Adyam, you are the original source. Paripurna mide, you are the total, complete perfection, and I surrender to you. And by surrendering to you, those who have already surrendered to you completely, they are immersed in the ocean of bliss. He says, Ananda Samudra Magnaha. So those who are surrendered to you, they are instantly immersed in the ocean of bliss because of your very nature as imperishable and unchanging and indestructible and most wonderful and most auspicious. And to such supreme being that you are, I surrender to you. Then he goes on to say that even all the great beings, that is to say, all the devatas, the demigods, Brahma onward, all of them, they are all pervaded by you, and yet none of them can actually understand you, because their very essence is you. And just as flames come out of fire and go back into the fire, all the various beings, starting from the devatas, that is the demigods like Brahma and so on, to the smallest ant, everything is pervaded by you. It has its source in you and it has its sustenance in you, and therefore they cannot understand you, perceive you, and they cannot in any way comprehend you. That is your nature. And it is also so because you are beyond all description. He says you are neither belonging to any gender or any category or any class or any quality or any activity. He says, Na ayam gunaha karmaha na stri, na puman, na jantuhu. So it defies all categories, any category that the mind can conceive, and we can only conceive. That's why we normally use some gender to refer to God. But even that, he says, all of that, because the material gender of male and female, or for that matter, various species that are there, all of that is transcended. This is why when the Lord appears to, he has taken all species. He has come as the fish, he has come as the tortoise, he has come as the man lion, and so on. And therefore, every gender, every category, every quality, every action, none of this can bind you. You are beyond all of that. So, recognizing all this, now Gajendra says something very beautiful. He says, therefore, O Lord, now I don't even want to survive anymore, because having woken up to this beautiful prayer in his heart, and now thereby realizing that which he had as a seed in his heart, the supreme being and the essence of one's own life, now he is freed of all attachment. This alligator has, in its own way, been the source of grace for him. And this is why, as we may remember, Kunti in the first Skandha also said, keep giving me suffering because suffering is grace that makes me turn to you. So here, this alligator represents intense suffering, which in turn brings about grace by through complete surrender. So this Gajendra says, I do not long to survive here anymore. Jijivashe na aham. He says, I don't like to survive anymore because what can I do in this mortal world which is filled with ignorance? I have also been filled with ignorance. All I desire is my veil of ignorance be completely removed by the light of your supreme spirit, because that is not possible through any activity. Even if I survive here 1,000 years and engage in whatever activities, it cannot be removed. I'll only be attached. So I'm not interested anymore in surviving and prolonging my life. All I desire is for you to remove my ignorance. So this sense of total surrender that Gajendra expresses is the spirit of one's complete detachment from any identification with the body, with wealth, with relatives, and all of that. So, detachment comes naturally when one surrenders totally like this. And that's what Gajendra shows here by this complete surrender. Now, the reason he surrendered is to save his life, but by the spirit of surrender, he has lost interest in even holding on to his life. All he is interested in now, he says, is I want to be freed of this ignorance so that I can perceive you as my very essence and not be caught in this ignorance. So he says, I bow to the all pervading spirit that you are, which creates, sustains, and dissolves this universe, which is also playing with this universe, and in fact, which is the universe itself, which is the very soul of the universe. Again, the verse so beautifully, he says, Soham Vishwasrajam Vishwam Avishwam Vishwavedasam Vishwatmanam Ajam Brahma Pranatosmi Parampadam. He says, Vishwasrajam, one who creates the universe, Vishwam, one who is the universe, Avishwam, yet one who is beyond the universe, Vishwavedasam, one who simply plays with this universe, Vishwatmanam, one who is the soul of the universe. So, very poetically, it's a beautiful alliteration where he says, everything about the universe is you. The creator is you, the essence of it is you, the soul of it is you, and yet you are beyond this universe. Ajam, you are unborn. Brahma, you are the infinite being. Pranatosmi, I offer my obeisance to you. Because all the yogis, he says, in another poetic verse, he says, every yogi engaging in all kinds of yoga, going into their heart, only perceive you who is the master of all yogas. He says, Yoga randikata karmano hridi yoga vibhavite yogino yam prapashyanti yogesham tam natosmyaham. So, yoginaha means those who are the yogis. Through their yoga, by going into the heart, purifying their heart, they perceive you, Yogesham, who is the Lord of all yogas, the master of all yogas. I offer my obeisance to you because you are the one who protects those who have surrendered unto you. Prapanna palaya duranta shaktaye. He says, you are the one who protects the one who has surrendered to you completely. Prapanna palaya namo namastubhyam prapanna palaya duranta shaktaye. So therefore, he says, the one who protects anyone who has surrendered to you, whose energy of the threefold Maya is irresistible. That is to say, it cannot be crossed over in any other way except by surrendering to you, who manifests as all the objects that is there, and who is unattainable by anyone who is outwardly focused. So it is said that anyone who is outwardly focused, whose senses are directed outward, cannot perceive you, whereas the one who surrenders by looking within, by surrendering the mind to the heart, the very seat of your being, such ones who surrender to you, you take care of them instantly. And therefore he says, I surrender to you, O Lord, the one whose glory cannot be surpassed and whose maya cannot be understood. He says, Tam duratyayam mahatmyam bhagavantom ito asmi aham. So he concludes his prayer by saying, Your Maya is inscrutable and unassailable. So Krishna also says in the Gita, that's why Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. My Maya is unassailable. It is so difficult to cross, and yet Mamevaye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. The one who surrenders to me totally, he crosses it over easily. So Gajendra, the king of elephants, recognizes this. He says, your Maya is unassailable, inscrutable, incomprehensible, and yet I am surrendering to you because that's the only way to go past this veil of ignorance. And therefore, you who takes care of those who surrender to you, I totally surrender unto you and I offer my obeisances to you. I bow to you, I hail you. So, with this beautiful prayer, Gajendra glorifies the Lord and surrenders completely. And when he does so, it is beautifully said by Shuka Brahma Rishi. It's a very beautiful, sweet way of Shuka Brahma Rishi. This Bhagavatam, as we daily chant, is got rasa. So, rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. Those who have taste can enjoy it more, it is said. So, in keeping with that, Shuka Brahma Rishi says, because this prayer was addressed to the original source, Adi Bija, as we said, the supreme source, he says nicely, all the other devatas kept quiet because it is said that the prayer was heard in the entire universe, that from the depth of the heart, the silent prayer of this elephant was heard by all beings of the universe, and yet everyone, all the demigods, which is to say, which is a way of beautifully putting it, that the only true refuge is the Supreme Lord. There may be many powerful beings in this world. There are kings and presidents, and then there is various natural elements, and they seem more powerful. There is the ocean that has its own power. There is the earth, which can release tremendous power, which is what all the demigods represent. But all of them are having their source, their sustenance in the supreme spirit, in the supreme being, in the God, in the one true God. And therefore it is the way of saying, Shukra Brahmarshi says, everybody else kept quiet listening to this prayer because the supreme Lord Sri Hari is the one it is addressed to. And therefore, he says, finding the elephant distressed in this way and hearing this beautiful prayer, the Supreme Lord who wields the discus Sudarshana, he mounted his vehicle Garuda, the king of the birds, the eagle, and with great speed, he instantly appeared there, accompanied by all the celestial beings who are glorifying him. And it is said that this whole sight is so beautifully described, how the Supreme Lord who mounts his divine eagle, eagle again also symbolizes perfect vision, and therefore it is appropriately the vehicle of the Supreme Being. And so Garuda, the supreme vehicle of the Supreme Being, the Lord mounts this Garuda and he instantly appears there. It is said, as everyone glorifies him appearing there. And most beautifully, we can envision this scene when the Lord is suddenly manifesting there in this way, with the Garuda carrying him and he mounting on the Garuda with his Sudarshana Chakra, that is the discus in his hand. Instantly, this king of elephants, with his beautiful heart, he plucks a lotus flower from the lake and he offers it, because it is said that one has to offer a flower or a fruit or anything with love upon seeing a great sage, even, and suddenly upon seeing the supreme being, or even going to a temple. And even in Gita, that's why Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, whoever offers me a leaf, a fruit, or anything with a pure heart, I accept it with great love. So beautifully, this Gajendra, even in this great moment of distress, beholding the Supreme Lord descending in his transcendent form, he instantly plucks a lotus flower and he holds his trunk up with the lotus as an offering to the Supreme Lord. And in this glorious sight, when he offers, he yells out from the bottom of his heart, Hail to you, O Lord Narayana, the preceptor, the Guru of the universe. He says, Narayana Akhila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. So with the lotus in his hand, sa ambujakaram, this elephant from the depth of his heart says all the prayer we saw so far was mentally recited. That is, he was in such intense pain and he remembered the prayer that he had learned from his past life, which glorifies the Supreme Lord in his true essence. And he said, Shukra Brahma Rishi clearly said he mentally said that prayer. So, which is to say, he did not have to go through everything because the whole prayer was in his heart. And the prayer that was narrated by Shukra Brahma Rishi is the whole prayer was something that was deep in his heart and he mentally repeated. But when Bhagavan appears there, he, from his very depth, he cried out saying, Narayana Akhila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. O Lord Narayana, Supreme Being, Supreme Guru of all, I offer my obeisance. He cried out his heart, seeing the Lord appear there out of his infinite compassion. And it is said that perceiving this beautiful scene of this king of the elephant offering this lotus flower out of his infinite compassion, the Supreme Lord Hari instantly took his Sudarshana Chakra and with that he removed the head of this alligator and thereby killed the alligator and thereby freed Gajendra. So this is called as Gajendra's liberation. Gajendra was liberated from the hold of this alligator, and not only that, we will see that Gajendra was liberated from his body as well, and he was given the eternal abode, the final liberation, the supreme beatitude of realizing and being as one with the Supreme Spirit. So, this is Gajendra Moksham. So, the alligator was instantly killed by the Lord, and Gajendra was also relieved. So, this again symbolizes the power of surrender that removes any affliction, not necessarily by getting rid of the outer affliction, but by the removal of any attachment to the affliction as affecting the sense of self. So, when one takes the body to be the self, the body is affected by, let's say, a disease. Removing the attachment to the body removes the affliction, and in this way, that is what is symbolized by the killing of the alligator. The alligator is killed by the Sudarshana Chakra, by the discus, and thereby Gajendra is freed from the clutches of the alligator and he is liberated. With this chapter ends. In the next chapter, we will see the past life of Gajendra and how he was able to get this prayer in his heart because of his past life, and what happens to him after this alligator is killed and how he is given final liberation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.